Hello and welcome to the Legislative Report. I'm John Banville. Our guest this week is Senator Joe Robach. Senator Robach, I want to thank you very much for taking time to talk to our viewers.
Well, John, happy to be here and have this chance as we start the legislative session coming off, what would I say, not only an on-target, but a rousing State of the State speech by the governor. Happy to be here and have this opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on here in Albany. People's interest seems to be piqued to me.
I'd like to talk about some of the changes that have occurred. We now have a new governor. We have a Senate that is controlled by, that you're part of the majority in. We have a new philosophy that's taking shape. What does the new governor mean for the people of Rochester and of your district? And what are you seeing as the major accomplishments that the major things you would like to accomplish in this upcoming session?
Right. This is a challenging times, no question. But I guess I am enthusiastic, for lack of a better term, because I see us moving for the first time in several years in a direction that seems to be more in accordance with the people I represent. And it's no surprise, whether you live in Brighton, whether you live in Greece, whether you're from the city of Rochester, Hilton, wherever it might be in my district. We had passed the property tax cap in 2008. I've been a strong supporter of that. And I was very relieved as well as encouraged to hear the governor, a Democratic governor, say we're going to do the property tax. And I don't say this lightly, but these are things that certainly Sheldon Silver, the titular head of the Assembly, and the other party has said he opposes. Yet in my district, when you talk about diversity, and yes, society is getting more diverse, we did a survey that said 84% of the people in my district strongly, not just weakly, favored the property tax cap. I'm glad to see us going in that direction. And I think with our side, so to speak, or our new majority moving forward, where a lot of us have supported property tax cap, budgets that control spending, we're already very much in accordance with the message of the governor, or you may even want to say he's adopted much of what we've been trying to accomplish with no partner for the last couple of years. Governor Patterson talked about some of the things, but never really seemed to have the personal or political might to get it through the Assembly. I think Governor Cuomo has every intention of trying to do that, and I think it definitely sets a better tone having our large amount of upstate people being back in the majority who have run on platforms, not just this year, but for several years, trying to be responsive to people in upstate New York, focusing on controlling our spending, tightening our belts, just like businesses, working families, people on a fixed income, and addressing property taxes, which continuously is the number one concern for people all across upstate New York, especially in Rochester and Monroe County. People are acutely aware of that, have seen that we've sponsored bills, and then say, well, we know you're for it. Why hasn't it happened? I think this governor has every intention with not only partnering with us, but doing whatever it takes to try and force that through the Assembly. Though I do think that's a tough task, and hopefully some of the Assembly people, including their leadership, seem to be talking a little bit differently. Hopefully they'll not only talk the talk, but walk the walk, because I think people where I live, and all New Yorkers for that matter, really want to see progress, action, not words. But clearly, we've staked it out. The governor's now staked it out in his State of the State message. What I think will be two of the most important things, and interestingly enough, what will define this governor's first term, whether we get this property tax cap through, coupled with unfunded mandate relief, not to push that down to local property taxpayers, and then a budget that really doesn't continue spending. When you think about it, it's really crazy what had transpired. You know, for the last 2 years, we had leadership that was not only all in one party, but every single leader was from New York City. And they made no bones about what their priority was, New York City, and increased spending 7 times the rate of inflation in the slowest time of our economy, after running on a platform criticizing our majority for letting the budget get raised at the rate of inflation over the last 8 years. That was definitely the wrong direction. I'm hopeful by working together, the governor, who I believe will try to follow up what he's done working together, I'm hoping we can turn the corner. It'll be challenging, but we'll do what we have to do and move New York in a very different direction, showing that we're listening to taxpayers and making more fertile ground for businesses and private sector job growth.
You raised a very interesting point, and it's a point that you have discussed with you've told our viewers about in the past, which was almost a New York City mentality when it came to New York State. For example, when they did the MTA bailout, they ignored money for roads and bridges, and everything seemed to be geared toward the city. Do you think that with the changes occurring in the Senate and with the changes occurring with the new governor, that focus on New York City will change and it will be more of an equitable view of New York State as a whole?
I certainly hope so, and I understand that we're going to have to do challenging things, but we have to do it fairly, openly, transparent, and from talking to the governor directly, and also Lieutenant Governor Duffy, who's the former mayor of Rochester. Our paths have been crossing since high school, and I worked for the county in the public safety realm. He was the chief of police in the city, now the mayor. I, as a senator, have been crossing paths. They're clearly saying they get it. They want to do fairly. They know there's challenges, not only in Rochester, Monroe County, but across upstate New York. So I do think there'll be more of an attempt to do this equitable. And I'll also, I'm not afraid to disagree, but I also give credit. I have my own volition, have cut my own operating budget 10%, given the times. The governor moving forward said he's going to do that. We need to have that kind of thinking. Contrary, the former Senate Majority Leader, headed up by Malcolm Smith and John Sampson and the New York Cityites, overspent above $10 million of what they were allotted. I don't even know how they can do that on staff and personnel and travel and other things. That clearly is the wrong direction, if not somewhat bordering on illegality to me. So I do feel confident that even knowing the challenges ahead, we're going to move in a much, much better direction. It just has to happen. And I think people where I live are really, even more than requesting it, they're now expecting it, maybe even saying this is what needs to be done to not only move us in the right direction, but restore confidence in state government. And so we're all in it together. But yeah, I have to say, it is refreshing to see someone from across the aisle speak so candidly, forcefully, and be on the same page of what we've known in upstate New York, or what voters in upstate New York have been asking for a long time. That part I do like.
Senator Robach, what do you see as the major challenges facing our state, and what would you like to see the New York State Senate do in the upcoming legislative session?
Well, one thing that's already happening, we're back to starting on time, telling the public, here's the calendar, we're going to put that out in advance, what we're going to vote on and when. And then again, I'm very, very hopeful that we'll go back to conference committees, which the governor has also pledged he's for. I know the leadership in our House, as well as rank and file members, are completely for that, meaning we're going to talk about fairness, the challenging issues in the budget, the direction we go with citizens, media, whoever wants to sit in that large room, empowering rank and file members to talk about that in panels to try and get the budget done on time. Letting the public in, I think, absolutely is essential to not only good government, but getting a budget done on time I'm hoping we're going to move in those directions. And there'll be other big ticket items that we're going to see out there. I'm a big believer in initiative and referendum, empowering the people's vote to let them speak more loudly of a process for them to get things on the ballot. But again, the most critical thing, given where we're at, is getting our fiscal house in order, responding to property taxpayers, doing it in an open fashion, restoring government, listening to everybody's opinion, and moving forward. I think that really, really has to happen. And, I believe it will. While it'll be challenging, the governor's already, which I agree with, we have some facilities that are run by the state where no one's in them, but because of, I don't know what you want to call it, some bad public policy, they're staying open. We could be using the money much more efficient than that. If everybody would tighten their belt in government first, elected office, show we're willing to sacrifice before we pass that sacrifice on to program and the public, if you will, I think that'll all play into this much better. Senator Maziarz and I from my area, Assemblyman Rylick as well, have been very big proponents of trying to consolidate, get leaner and meaner, the Thruway Authority into DOT, the Liquor Authority into economic development, a lot of things that we could do. The governor talked about banks and insurance. There's a lot of things we could do, I believe, to restructure government, even some program things in the big ticket item areas like Medicaid, and perhaps save money yet be more efficient without diminishing services too much. All that has to be on the table and happen if we're going to get to where we need to go to. And also, I think for the public to embrace the challenges and the tough direction we're going to have to go into. We have to lead by example. This is one where clearly can't just talk the talk. We're all going to have to walk the walk. Money's tight. I'm glad with us being back in the majority, too. We're not going back to that flip-flop, to the victor go the spoils. We're trying to run offices, use that public money in a good way. All those things are critically important.
Senator Robach, how significant of a priority is job creation in New York State going to be in the upcoming year?
Well, that's obviously huge. After the budget and sending a message that we're responding to property tax, job opportunities are critically important. I want to keep my kids in upstate New York and Rochester. I want to keep everybody, I say this time and time again, unlike other people, 3 out of my 4 grandparents didn't speak English as a first language. My entire family, an extended family, all my friends, everybody I know and love, live there. I want them to be able to stay there and flourish and have that be good for them as it was for my parents and my family. And jobs are a critically important part of that. So not only is tax structure and policy important, the governor, but we didn't get the details, spoke of a job creation program. We had one in the Senate, which would give a tax credit, would be revenue neutral, but if you created a job, instead of paying more taxes for creating the job, you'd be able to get to keep that, as well as we'd have another working person in there, hopefully buying a home, gas, shopping, doing all those things that add to the economy as we move forward. So job creation and climate for job creation and policy, what we do, will also be a big ticket item in this upcoming session.
Well, I'm sure we'll be following up with you in the upcoming weeks as to how we are proceeding on these goals. I want to thank you very much.
Yep, thank you, John.
And we'll see you soon.